Egypt's foreign minister inaugurates Cairo ministerial meeting to enhance Gaza's humanitarian response. Palestinian PM condemns Israel's use of starvation as a weapon at Gaza summit. And the Syrian army launches operations in northern regions, killing 400 militants in airstrikes. It's almost 8 p.m. Cairo local time, and you're now watching Qnews. We begin tonight's bulletin with the latest developments in Gaza. Egypt's Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati has inaugurated the Cairo ministerial meeting to enhance humanitarian response in Gaza, hosted under the auspices of President Abdel Fattah Sisi. The Egyptian Foreign Minister condemned Israel's ongoing aggression in Gaza, which has caused immense death, destruction and displacement while violating international law. Abdelati called for an immediate ceasefire, unhindered humanitarian aid and adherence to United Nations resolutions. The conference aims to secure international commitments for sustained aid, immediate relief and long-term recovery for Gaza, emphasizing the need for solidarity and respect for Palestinian rights. United Nations Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed has urged the international community to support peace efforts and ensure that humanitarian aid reaches Gaza. She described the situation as a humanitarian catastrophe and highlighted the dire condition of 90,000 malnutrition children. She also criticized Israel for obstructing aid and violating international law. Additionally, the United Nations Deputy Secretary General condemned Israel's collective punishment of Palestinians and emphasized the crucial role of UNRWA in maintaining Gaza's stability.
The population of Gaza has been displaced, often multiple times. Malnutrition is rampant. In the past 4 months,
Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Mustafa has condemned Israel's systematic use of starvation as a weapon. Speaking at the Cairo ministerial meeting on Gaza's humanitarian crisis, Mustafa labeled the ongoing genocide in Gaza as a war crime, requiring urgent international intervention. Mustafa outlined plans for Gaza's recovery and bolstering Palestine's economy post-conflict, emphasizing national unity. Mustafa thanked Egypt for its unwavering support for Palestine and efforts to secure a ceasefire and humanitarian aid to Gaza. United Nations Senior Humanitarian and Reconstruction Coordinator for Gaza, Sigrid Kaag, has emphasized the severe destruction and losses caused by the ongoing Israeli aggression. Kaag called for urgent humanitarian aid, ceasefire, and enhanced protection for humanitarian workers. She also advocated for intensified United Nations and international support to ensure the safety, education, and stability of Palestinian children. Additionally, she praised UNRWA's crucial role in health services and reconstruction efforts.
And the Deputy Secretary General has called it. She's painted a picture for you. I have to say,
UNRWA Commissioner General Philippe Lazzarini has called for urgent, large-scale humanitarian action to address the catastrophic conditions in Gaza and ensure safe and effective humanitarian operations. Speaking at the Cairo Ministerial Conference on Gaza, Lazzarini highlighted UNRWA's 75-year history of providing education and preserving Palestinian identity. He emphasized that no institution other than UNRWA can educate hundreds of thousands of Gaza's children, underscoring the urgent need for international aid and a political solution to the crisis.
The breakdown of civil order has forced us to pause aid deliveries through Kerem Abu Salem, another blow.
United Nations Humanitarian Coordinator for the Occupied Palestinian Territory, Muhannad Hadi, has emphasized the urgent need to protect Gaza's civilians and end the catastrophic conditions there. Hadi stated that over 17,000 children have lost one or both parents, and most residents are displaced, living in temporary shelters. He highlighted the complete collapse of the health system after Israeli strikes destroyed hospitals, leaving patients without care. Hadi called for an immediate ceasefire and condemned Israel's unlawful actions in the occupied territories. Acting Executive Director of the Egyptian Red Crescent, Dr. Amal Imam, has stressed the urgent need to protect Palestinians in Gaza and address the unprecedented humanitarian crisis. Speaking at the Cairo Ministerial Conference, Amal highlighted efforts to support Gaza's residents and injured individuals receiving care in Egypt in coordination with the Palestinian Red Crescent. She emphasized the critical role of 50,000 volunteers working to deliver essential supplies to Gaza. The conference aims to secure sustainable aid and international commitments for Gaza's recovery. Palestinian Red Crescent President Yunus al-Khatib has highlighted the severe challenges facing humanitarian efforts in Gaza due to the ongoing Israeli aggression. Speaking at the Cairo Ministerial Conference on sustaining humanitarian response in Gaza, al-Khatib stressed the lack of protection for humanitarian workers, urging respect for international law and adherence to global agreements. He emphasized that destruction has affected every corner of Gaza, holding the international community partly responsible for the escalating humanitarian crisis. Saudi Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan has expressed his country's appreciation for Egypt's efforts to strengthen regional security amid the ongoing Israeli aggression and systematic targeting of civilians in Gaza. He emphasized that Palestinians in the besieged enclave are facing forced displacement and deliberate destruction in clear violation of international humanitarian law. Speaking at the International Conference to Support Gaza, held in Cairo and broadcast by Qnews, Prince Faisal warned of the grave risks posed by the ongoing escalation and the potential for a broader regional conflict that could spiral into an uncontrollable war. Jordanian Foreign Minister Ayman al-Safadi has stressed that the situation in Gaza is worsening due to the ongoing famine and killings. Speaking at the Cairo Ministerial Conference, al-Safadi emphasized that resolving the current situation is crucial for regional stability and peace. He called for an immediate ceasefire, as well as for enabling the United Nations to deliver aid, proposing a plan to send 250 trucks daily to Gaza. Safadi condemned Israel for exacerbating the crisis and called for pressure to ensure humanitarian aid reaches Gaza, alongside a two-state solution to end the conflict. Kuwaiti Foreign Minister Abdullah al-Yahya has described the situation in Gaza as horrific, emphasizing the scale of the ongoing humanitarian crisis. Speaking at the Cairo Ministerial Conference, he highlighted Kuwait's efforts to aid Gaza through airships and condemned the actions of the Israeli occupation, particularly the prohibition of UNRWA operations and violations of international law. Al-Yahya warned against the dangers of double standards in the international community's response, urging stronger and more unified action to address the crisis. Bahraini Foreign Minister Abdul Latif bin Rashid Al Zayani has emphasized Bahrain's full solidarity with the Palestinian people in Gaza and its commitment to providing support and aid to alleviate their suffering. He reiterated calls for an immediate ceasefire and unrestricted humanitarian aid access to Gaza. He added that Bahrain has sent multiple aid shipments, including medical supplies and food to Gaza. Additionally, Bahrain Red Crescent has supported relief efforts through donations and aid distribution. Iraqi Foreign Minister Fuad Hussein has criticized Israel's ongoing attacks on Gaza, highlighting the use of starvation as a weapon and the violation of international law. Speaking at the Cairo Ministerial Conference, Hussein condemned Israel's brutal actions against civilians, including children, women and the elderly, as well as the destruction of hospitals, schools and places of worship. He also called for immediate humanitarian assistance and emphasized Iraq's support for Palestine's UN membership, urging compliance with the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Speaking at the Cairo Ministerial Conference, Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani has called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, citing the recent ceasefire in Lebanon as a reason for urging action. Tajani emphasized the need for urgent collaboration to expedite humanitarian aid to Gaza. He also praised Egypt's efforts to facilitate aid delivery and expressed Italy's readiness to assist in Gaza's reconstruction, particularly through Italian companies. Tajani expressed Italy's commitment in supporting the humanitarian response and ensuring that aid reaches Gaza efficiently. The situation in Gaza is worsening as Israeli airstrikes intensify across the Gaza Strip.
The situation in Gaza continues to deteriorate due to intense Israeli military aggression across various regions of the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. In Gaza, Israeli airstrikes targeted multiple areas, resulting in significant casualties. Over the past 24 hours, 23 Palestinians were killed and 101 injured in attacks, including strikes on residential areas and shelters for displaced families. A tragic attack in Gaza City targeted a school in El Tufah neighborhood, killing 6 people and wounding 17. Another strike hit an orphanage in western Gaza, causing further devastation. Southern Gaza witnessed a brutal Israeli incursion involving tank and air attacks in Khan Yunis, where at least 32 people, including women and children, were killed. In central Gaza, attacks on shelters for displaced families in the Al-Nusayrat and Al-Baraj camps caused multiple casualties, including the deaths of 3 children. In the West Bank, tensions remain high, with reports of increased Israeli military operations and arrests. Settler violence has also been escalating, targeting Palestinian communities and agricultural lands, exacerbating the already dire humanitarian situation. The overall security and humanitarian conditions are alarming, with limited access to essential services and aid. This ongoing violence has deeply impacted the civilian population, highlighting the urgent need for international intervention and sustained humanitarian support.
And for more analysis, we now move to Mark in our newsroom. To you, Mark.
Thank you, Hella. So for more on the Cairo Ministerial Conference, we are joined from California by the political analyst, Dr. Ashraf Singer. Thank you very much for being with us here on Q News, Dr. Singer. What were the main outcomes of today's Cairo Ministerial Conference?
We have here in Cairo collective action against, the aggression of the Israelis and their plan, to increase the bloodshed in Gaza and West Bank, So that kind of action by all foreign ministers in that summit, it's very crucial to send a clear message to the international community. They should act and act now, because what happened in Gaza actually it's the biggest, failure of Biden administration. As the Foreign Affairs magazine mentioned today in one of his major article, analyzed, what happened clearly. It was a weak diplomacy, a weak administration, gave Israelis, that kind of long range or long, huge aid. I'm sorry, to help the aggression guy, Israelis, to attack, civilians and innocent people, and it's really crucial. But what I'm seeing now, there is a kind of strong interaction between Egypt and the Arab world and the Islamic world and the international community. They need to send that message clear that we should act now. Stop, keeping that Gaza in that situation.
And Dr. Singer, how do you assess Egypt's role in facilitating humanitarian aid and also mediating peace efforts?
So Egypt's role, it's pretty clear and deep in terms of contacting Washington, Moscow, Beijing, EU countries. And it seems to me that is Egypt really made a great success in terms of change many positions of European countries like Spain, Ireland, Slovenia, France, England, Italy. All of these guys, they are members of NATO. All of these guys, they are major countries in EU. All of them showing a very strong message to the Israelis, or the Israel government, that they should really stop killing. And it seems to me that message from President Sisi in the last meeting, when he spoke about Gaza problem, it seems to me that message really reached to the ear of Washington here for the current administration and for the next administration. So Trump declared, yesterday, or announced yesterday, that he insists to stop that war and stop that killing and release the hostages and stop that type of killing. It's a vicious circle of violence. We need to stop that. So it seems to be like the role of Egypt in terms of giving the aid, supporting, Palestinians in terms of their right to exist and to coexist with the Israelis. This is really the great policy that Egypt adopted long time ago, when Egypt signed the peace accord with Israel back to 1978.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ashraf Singer, joining us from California. Thank you very much for your insights. And it's back to you, Hella.
Thank you very much, Mark. And moving on to Syria, the Syrian state news agency has reported that the army has launched operations in rural Aleppo, Hama and Idlib to encircle and expel armed factions. The agency stated that 400 militants were killed in recent airstrikes conducted in coordination with Russian forces. Meanwhile, a military source denied claims about targeting a military meeting in northern Hama. Efforts are underway to secure towns and villages in northern Hama. The Syrian government has announced joint airstrikes with Russian forces on militant-controlled sites in the countryside of eastern Aleppo. According to a military source, the strikes hit the outskirts of As-Safira, killing and injuring dozens and destroying several vehicles. The operations aim to weaken the hold of factions in the region. Iraqi President Abdulatif Rashid has emphasized his country's commitment to regional stability during a meeting with Syria's ambassador to Baghdad. Rashid reiterated Iraq's readiness to assist Syria in fostering peace and preventing conflict escalation, underscoring the importance of addressing the broader implications of Syria's ongoing crisis. Iraq's Interior Ministry has confirmed that its border with Syria is fully secured. A ministry spokesperson highlighted the extensive efforts over the past 2 years to fortify the borders, including a secondary defense line. He affirmed Iraq's readiness to counter any threats to national security. Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan and his Iranian counterpart have discussed Syria's unresolved issues during a joint press conference. Fidan criticized terrorist groups exploiting instability in Syria, reiterating Turkey's refusal to tolerate such activities. He also expressed Turkey's willingness to mediate between the Syrian government and legitimate opposition. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has declared Tehran's unwavering support for Syria's government and people. Speaking alongside his Turkish counterpart, he condemned the impact of terrorist groups on Syrian civilians and emphasized Syria's sovereignty and territorial unity as essential for peace and stability. China has voiced deep concern over developments in northern Syria, pledging its support for government efforts to restore stability. Foreign Ministry spokesman Lin Jian expressed China's readiness to contribute positively to prevent further deterioration in the region. The US, UK, France and Germany have issued a joint statement calling for de-escalation in Syria and the protection of civilians. The statement emphasized the urgency of a political solution led by Syrians in accordance with UN Security Council Resolution 2254, which outlines a peace process for Syria. An Israeli airstrike has targeted the town of Ainata in the southern Lebanese district of Bint Jbeil in violation of the ceasefire agreement. Another airstrike hit a motorcycle with one person on board in the town of Jadidat Marja'iyun in the eastern sector of southern Lebanon. Lebanese Speaker Nabih Berri has called on the committee monitoring the ceasefire agreement to urgently begin its work and compel Israel to stop its violations. Berri emphasized that Israeli military actions are a blatant breach of the ceasefire. He noted that Israel have now breached the ceasefire agreement 54 times. And that brings us to the end of our news bulletin. Here is what we have been covering. Egypt's foreign minister inaugurates Cairo ministerial meeting to enhance Gaza's humanitarian response. Palestinian PM condemns Israel's use of starvation as a weapon at Gaza summit. And the Syrian army launches operations in northern regions, killing 400 militants in airstrikes. And this concludes our news bulletin for the hour. Don't forget to follow Qnews on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok at QNewsEG to stay informed. Thank you very much for watching and stay tuned for more updates on Qnews.